Damn, son, where'd you find this?
The reason why I have such longevity with Ibanez is because they created an instrument that's a reflection of my idiosyncrasies when I play. You know, like, I love all of these guitars in this room, you know what I mean? I'm looking at a Gretsch, and to me, every time I see a guitar, it's like Christmas. I feel like it's Christmas. It's just, guitars are gorgeous, beautiful pieces of creation to me, every one of them. But when I was young and I was developing my style, there was things I wanted to do that were not really present in all the guitars. I didn't want to conform to what was available, you know, because I wanted everything that I did to be different and unique. I set out specifically to be an innovator. I was looking for something, and it involved having 24 frets and a whammy bar that you can, you know, pull up on. It was unique design. There are so many unique elements to this guitar that don't seem unique anymore because they're incorporated in a lot of instruments. I mean, you know, it's a guitar, you know, it's got strings and whatever. But, you know, for instance, I wanted, I have big hands, you know, and I wanted to be able to play freely up high with the neck without having anything get in the way, so I just chopped this out. And I liked the way Strats looked, but there was something a little pedestrian, and I wanted it a little sexier. You know, so I just thought, and I worked on this design, and it's just, you know, it's just got a little more sharper edges. You know what I mean? Which to me, it's just more attractive to me. And the pickup configuration was unique. So I wanted to have double coil pickups, especially in the, you know, treble position where it really screams. But I love the sound of that really clean Stratty sound when you're using two pickups at the same time. So we devised this switch that would give you a neck, in the neck position here you have a double coil pickup. And then when you're in this position, it splits this to make it a single coil. And then you have a single coil here. So the two single coils give you that clean Stratty kind of a sound that I just love, which wasn't available any place back then, as far as I knew. And then in this position, it's just a single coil. And then here, it's the same thing. It splits the coil in this one, so you get a single coil and a single coil, so you get that Stratty kind of a sweet tubey sound. And there, it's just, look out. So it was perfect for me. And then the idea of having the 24 frets and a whammy bar, it didn't exist really, you know. And I thought, well, why don't we scallop these last 4 frets? Because it was always just really hard to get under the string. Just a practical thing that made a lot of sense. And at the time, whammy bars were the Floyd Rose type where you can bend down, and it was really great because you can get all this, right? You know, instead of like just the little bit of a, you know, the notes on conventional whammy bars went like this, but then once these new clamping systems came, you could just, you know, but you couldn't pull up on them, you know? And I thought, well, what's stopping that from happening, you know? And I just looked, and it was like, well, the body here. So I took a hammer and a screwdriver, and I just whacked the wood away until I can go, wow. And then I recorded a song called the Attitude Song, and it had all this wild, I mean, you could stretch a note, you know, like almost an octave, you know, until the string breaks. And that, to me, was so cool. And then just some practical things like, I just moved the volume knob a little bit because it was in the way. I only wanted one tone control. And I could never understand why people didn't make jacks that when you stepped on them, they didn't pull out of your guitar. Because Les Pauls were all, I mean, look at them all. They all got jacks over here. So you step on it and it comes out of your guitar, you know. Just a stupid practical application, but I hadn't seen it. And then I knew that eventually all these applications would probably become common. So I had to do one thing that was completely preposterous that I knew no one would ever dare to try to do because it was completely off the wall. So I said, put a handle in it, right? Because when I do video shoots, I could swing the guitar around. You know, it's totally ridiculous. But it stuck. And it's just an identifiable factor on the guitar. And no one would dare copy it. And then, you know, one day I said, you know what, let's put a 7-string on it. And it just, you know, I knew the moment that I thought of that, and it wasn't a unique idea. The 7-string guitars existed, but no one was popularizing them in rock and roll. And I knew as soon as I did that, that there would be people who would be able to use that in various genres. I knew that there was going to be some kids sitting in a basement somewhere that were going to then start making music and start making records, and they'd be using that 7th string, and they would be using that low string, and they would create a completely different evolution of metal music. And I remember the day I was driving down the street and I heard this music on the radio, and I said, they're using a 7th string, and it was incredibly heavy, gorgeous, rich, melodic music. And I pulled my car over and I just listened and listened, and I said, who is this? And it was Korn. It was their first record. And then the floodgates opened up, you know, and the 7th string really did define a genre. When we go through the process of designing a new one, it's always fun because we can just say, well, what's going to work? What's crazy? You know, what's interesting? And sometimes they come out very classic. Sometimes they come out real animated and goofy, you know. But this was an interesting case because it involved getting a vat, and it was this guy, and he had this process of dipping the guitars in these vats of colors, you know, and then every one would come out different. One of the reasons I think that the guitar is popular, it's transcended me as a musician, you know. A guitar like this would never live as long as it has if it was just based on me as an artist.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?